You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Hey, everybody, what do you say we play a game? It's an old Earth tradition where, we start talking about Star Trek and then you call us and tell us all the ways that we've disappointed you. It'll be fun, right? And I'll pass some hors d'oeuvres. It's 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, and you're with us, and it must be time for Mission Log Live. I'm John Champion.
And I'm Heather Barker, and welcome to the show. Tonight, we're at the midway point of Strange New Worlds' second season with a pleasant little game of charades. Pleasant only if you're not playing with Vulcans. They're not known for being much fun at parties, unless that is you like your tea hot. Very hot.
Yes, very hot. And welcome back, Heather, by the way. And I hope that you're doing well.
I'm much better. I am over the rice and flu or whatever that was that I had last week. And welcome back to you. Welcome back party to everybody here.
It is a welcome back party.
Very excited to have you back.
Well, the feeling is mutual. Good to see you, and it's good to be seen. So here we are, yes, with a little fun game of charades, and hopefully nobody burns their hands on a pot of tea. That reminded me of the opening of Kung Fu. I don't know if you remember the opening credits of that show from the 70s, where he puts his arms on the hot pot, that. Anyway, well, look, all of you, if you would like to be a part of our live discussion tonight, you know what to do, and if you don't, Heather is going to tell you.
Just click on the Zoom link or give us a ring using the one tap from your smartphone, or you can call us 669-900-6833 and enter the meeting code and password you see in the show notes. And the Earl Green of the Earl Green Room will let you right on in.
Excellent. And while we are waiting for you to queue up, why don't we say hi to some of the folks who are in the chat? Very happy to see both. Finally, I got set up with YouTube and Facebook, so I can say hi to Mark Welch. I can say hi to Scott Palm. Pleasure to see you, friend. Dave Taylor. Let's see. There's Dominic. Love Dom from our Discord chats, as always. Tracy Coco. Pleasure to see you. There's Michael. Let's see here. Michael says right away, good evening. This was a fun episode that reminded me of some of the character work Enterprise did with the Vulcan people. Excellent. It's been a long time since I've watched Enterprise, so glad to have that little refresher there. There's David, there's Jane, there's Elizabeth, there's Aaron, there's another Paul. I hope we get so many Pauls tonight.
Three.
Three. That's all we hope for. Carrie Reed, there's BC, of course, with an Alamarain. And again, how dare you? We got Alan, and let's see who else we got. We got Frankie, we got Tim, we got Julie, we got did I miss anybody? There's another Tim. We got two Tims. We got to start a new club.
Jackpot.
And I believe we have our third Paul. And Mike Mullen as well, a little Trek insider of our very own right there. Yes. All right. Well, welcome to all of you. I see we already have a few callers lined up. If you want to get on that, you know what to do. Before we get to the recap, let me remind everyone what's happening in Mission Log Land. This week, our coverage of Voyager continues on Thursday with Voyager's Season 4 premiere, Scorpion Part 2. That, of course, is the one where Janeway just seems to be determined to prove the old story about the scorpion and the frog is wrong, so she gets bitten again. And also, here's what's happening elsewhere in Mission Log programming. Heather, what do we have to look forward to?
All right. On Mission Log Prodigy, Shar, Earl, and Norm recently recorded a very important episode covering the official decision by Paramount Plus to cancel, Star Trek Prodigy.
Yes.
And what the future holds for season 2. And then over on Mission Log, The Orville, Captain Mike Richards and Jessica Lynn Verdi are currently covering the graphic novels. Coming this week, they chatted with David Cabeza, the artist responsible for the illustrations in the Orville comics, along with guest PJ from Orville Nation and Elise Hargraves from Phoenix Development, who is designing the Orville 3D Experience video game. That is rad.
That is so cool. I'm very impressed with their guest lineup.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So follow at Mission Logs / hashtag that thing.
Hyphen.
The Orville.
There we go.
Hyphen. Thank you. It's late. My brain doesn't always work well. So ML hyphen the Orville on Twitter. And be sure to check out the Orville Library Edition graphic novel. We share the links in each episode. Please remember that these shows and more are available at podcast.runberry.com and can both be enjoyed on YouTube as well. That address is youtube.com/runberryentertainment.
Yes. All right. And here we go. Without further ado, let's knock through this recap because I cannot wait to hear what people have to say about charades. The Enterprise is on its way to the Vulcan system, which affords a few things to happen. Chapel can interview for a fellowship to study at the Vulcan Science Academy. Spock can have the ritual Vishal engagement dinner with T'Pring and her family, and both of them can study the mysteries of a moon where the ancient, I'm going to get this wrong every single time, Kirkavians? This is going to be hilarious the whole time, where they once lived. That species was rumored to possess incredible medical knowledge, but at some point disappeared. When Spock and Chapel approached the moon where the Kirkovians lived, an energetic anomaly drags their shuttle into a vortex, threatening to shake the vessel apart. After some time, Spock awakens in sickbay, told that he and Chapel were in a shuttle accident, but to his shock, he has somehow been transformed into a human. Una and La'an investigate the shuttle involved in the strange incident with Chapel and Spock. It's in perfectly fine condition, but they find an odd piece of alien tech, which turns out to be subspace communication coordinates. Pike initiates first contact, but the entity on the other end, calling itself Yellow, doesn't seem interested in conversation. It merely states that the shuttle got too close to their transport tunnel and was damaged. According to their laws, the shuttle and its occupants were remediated and returned, and no further contact is necessary. The remediation was based on the wrong instructions, though. When Yellow shuts off the comms, Pike has to explain to Spock that the Vulcan DNA in him was seen by the Kirkovians as incorrect and thus removed. So Spock is indeed human until they can find a way to reverse it. It'll take time, and that leaves human Spock with some time to return to duty and socialize. It's an odd adjustment for him and everyone around him. Spock is prone to outbursts in the extreme, laughing, lashing out in anger, devouring all the bacon in sight. But Chapel and Mbenga work so hard as they can. In between, Chapel tries to wrap up her interview with the Vulcan Science Academy. That does not go well. And speaking of things that don't go well, there's the matter of Spock's mother unexpectedly beaming aboard the Enterprise. Spock tries to hide his transformation, literally and figuratively, but a mother knows all. They can't revert Spock back to his Vulcan state in time, and they can't postpone the Vishal dinner. There's the matter of political ties, as well as the personal pride, all watched over with scrutiny by T'Pring's mother, T'Pril. So Amanda, with the help of Captain Pike, will have to help her son to lie, to pass for Vulcan, and go through a number of uncomfortable and sometimes humiliating rituals, all while Spock wears some prosthetic ears. Meanwhile, Chapel hatches a plan to have her crewmates back to the moon, where she can attempt to contact the Kirkovians. It seems to be the only way to help Spock, as she and Mbenga have come up short on ways to repair his genetic code. T'Pring arrives before her parents, partly to express her frustration with her mother and to re-emphasize how important this meeting and the rituals really are. Spock can't bring himself to tell her the truth about what's going on with him, and in short order, the parents arrive. T'Pril is full of regal coolness. Her husband is a sycophant. Try as Spock and Pike do to postpone the ceremony of Vishal, T'Pril is ready to move right ahead. That makes Chapel's unorthodox mission even more important and dangerous. Ortegas pilots the shuttle close enough to the anomaly where they first encounter the Kirkovians, and despite the turbulent entry, they soon find themselves in the relative calm of the Kirkovians' domain past the transport site. One of the entities introduces itself as Blue, and Chapel makes an appeal to speak to Yellow about Spock's condition. Yes, the Kirkovians remediated him, but they did it wrong, and now the real Spock could be lost forever. Yellow fails to understand the importance Spock has to Chapel, and Ortegas and Uhura encourage her to speak from her heart about how important he is to her and how Chapel needs him to be how he was, the part that she was connected to. And they'd all better hurry. Spock has endured the pain of holding a scalding teapot, the personal sniping and exposure of his flaws from T'Pris, and now they are nearly to the point in the evening that would require a mind meld between the betrothed and their parents. Captain Pike steps in to slow things down with the suggestion of a game of charades. But just then, Chapel has returned from the Kerkovians with a gift, Spock's vitamins that in secret she tells him will return him to his original genetic state. The physical changes will occur over time. Before the ejection, though, Chapel asks Spock about something Kerkovians confided in her. During their original shuttle accident, Spock diverted the shields to protect her rather than himself, and she wants to know why. He says it was the logical choice, but before he can express more, she quickly injects him with the cure for his condition. Returning to the Vishal, Spock mind melds with his mother, and she shares with him the memory of an ordinary day from his childhood. T'Pris objects at the mundanity, but T'Pring reminds her that an opinion isn't required, just acknowledgement that the ceremony has been completed. It's over, but as a parting shot, T'Pris gives the ultimate backhanded compliment that she is impressed that someone with Spock's handicap of being half human could perform the ritual at all. And with that, summoning up a profound bit of courage, Spock reveals that a human did indeed just complete the Vishal as he pulls off the prosthetic ears Mbenga had made for him. And he also takes the opportunity to thank his mother for her tireless compassion and love in the face of Vulcan judgment. All's well that, well, maybe not so much. In her unemotional way, T'Pring seems hurt that Spock didn't confide in her about his temporary condition. He did confide in his crewmates, though, so maybe he doesn't trust her? Perhaps it's time for these two to take a break. In the aftermath, Pike shares a tradition, a sip of bourbon, to commiserate with Spock. Sometime later, Spock sees his mother away, and he asks about the memory that she shared with him, a day at school when he was accepted by his Vulcan peers, and neatly illustrates how out of place Amanda was as an adult human on Vulcan, the difficulty she had following her heart to love a Vulcan. They share a warm goodbye, and then Spock is visited by Chapel in his quarters. He wants to tell her that he and T'Pring are taking time apart, and that he is conflicted by his feelings for another. And did Chapel have anything to tell him? We don't know, because immediately she goes in for a massive kiss. The end. Can I get an awe?
Yeah, no, I was like smiling and it was in my heart. Great recap. Lots of comments in chat saying great
good
recap as well. But yeah, but man, that kiss, I totally bought this episode. I don't think too hard about it, and I don't go on the internet. But I don't know, that I'm loving what they're doing with filling in the blanks. And I don't know. I'm not really I'm not a T'Pring Spock shipper. I'm not really a Chapel Spock shipper, but they just work so well together that that this episode provoked a lot of emotion, and I was just like, yes, finally, good kiss.
Look, I don't want to jump to the end and just sort of give away everything that I feel about this episode, but I'll say a little bit here and just say that, you know, for all the times that modern Trek will deeply explore an idea, they'll take this like Spock Chapel romance or the Spock T'Pring, moment that we had in TOS and do a deeper dive into that. Sometimes it really puts me off because I think like we've seen it, we've done that. We don't need to just keep exploring familiar territory. But then they can come along and they can do an episode that peels back more layers of the onion. And I go like, oh, they took this one thing and they gave it more depth. They gave it more heart. So I guess I can let it slide in that case. and Justin, this episode really has a way of winning me over. I think in terms of balancing comedy with heart and with genuine character growth, because they could have just picked any one thing. They could have just said, we're going to do the funny episode where Spock becomes human. Okay, you can do that. He can blurt out all the things you've always wanted him to hear. But then if you don't follow that up with heart and humanity, then it might just feel like kind of a blow off. But let's see how our listeners think they did. And let's start off with Chris, who, by the way, Chris, we missed you taking a shot of something right before you joined us. I want to know what that was, because I've just got water, my friend.
Yes, these are my vitamins. No, this is the, see if I can get it to do it, maybe. There we go. This is the brown sugar bourbon. That
there you go. Yeah, you got it. Nice. Good
and
call.
Maybe I'll bring to Vegas this year. So
good.
You're coming to the
There we
Mission
go.
party, get you the hookup.
There we go.
But no, yeah, I really like this episode, sort of to what both you guys were saying. Like, for me, the appeal of Strange New Worlds is not the meticulous, timeline filling of, how do we get from Ethan Peck Spock to Nimoy Spock? It's more of the sort of the moments and the way that these new people are infusing life into these characters, and especially Jess Bush's Chapel. Just, oh my goodness, because we know they're going to break up, right? That's very clear. Yeah. We know how TOS goes. We know the end of this story. But it doesn't matter, because the way Jess Bush is infusing this, longing and her desire for connection, there's just wonderful episode. Love Jess Bush.
Two things about that. One is that as far as that canon filling, of course, we know that there is a Dr. Roger Corby somewhere in between this moment and TOS, and I was glad that he got a shout out in there. I thought that was really worthwhile. And the other thing that I like is that we got to at least get some hints about Chapel's romantic and personal life outside of Spock too. You think about, we've only had 15 episodes of Strange New Worlds. We have had half of a TOS season worth of Strange New Worlds. And we have fleshed out these characters in a really good way. And it's kind of cool to see Chapel come to terms with her own feelings and the depth of those feelings, given the little hints that we've gotten up until now.
No, definitely. You think back to whatever the episode was in season 1 where they're on shore leave and she's dating the guy and she's trying to break up with the guy. It's very clear that she is trying not to be in serious relationships at this moment when we meet her. And she just cannot help but fall for Spock. And I think that's what makes it so compelling, is that she's trying so hard to disobey, and it's no, the little inner part of her is no, you're gonna fall for this guy. You have to. This is the way it's gonna be. And but yeah.
I want to jump over the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Heather.
I was just gonna say that all of that for me does play into the TOS character, because you understand the pining and the longing that Chapel does, and I'm really glad that she's not just pining and longing in Strange New Worlds, and that she also had a different, it wasn't just about the love interest for her in this episode either. She was out there being a badass, doing science and saying, "I'm too good for your program, Mr. Vulcan, bye." And so it was really great to have the balance so that it wasn't just her and the love story part.
Right. I want to jump here to some of the chat comments. Julie says, Star Trek rarely does humor this well. I laughed and laughed, and what a great performance by Ethan Peck. Look, he was good anyway. And I love that they found a way to really play up his comedic chops. Absolutely, 100% agree with you there. John Combs in the chat says, I put off watching this episode when I saw the description. It sounded too absurd to be enjoyable. Finally watched it. It was absurd as I expected, and I loved it. How do they keep doing that? And then Narda says, it was a fun episode, but as a TOSer from reruns in the early years, I find it difficult to accept the characters as my beloved TOS cast. Still, I respect it and respect all who truly love it. That is really nice, Narda. Thank you. And Scott Palm saying Chapel and Spock, the new it couple. So I love seeing these comments here.
I think it was Spapple in there. Someone with like the
Spapple.
ship name. Yeah, Spapple.
Spapple
Which
or
is-
Chalk are your choices. Neither of which are.
Oh my
No,
God.
none of them work.
No, those do not work. Yeah. BC says that he missed the Corby reference. Well, in their early part, before Chapel has her interview with the Vulcan, the first interview with the Vulcan Science Academy admin, she is being quizzed by her crewmates about the 3 rules of what medical anthropology, archaeological medicine, the 3 Corby rules. Yeah. So nice reference there. Chris, any other thoughts before we jump over to our next caller?
Yeah, I mean, one archaeological medicine. It was a fun callback to season 1 where it's like sewing, haha, stitches. That was a good joke in season 1. I also learned that I want Jess Bush to narrate all audiobooks until the end of time, based on her opening log. Just the way she delivers the lines and her. Yeah, please, more Jess Bush audiobooks.
Agreed. Fully agreed. All right, Chris, thanks so much. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Okay.
All right, see you around, guys.
Be good. All right, and let's welcome Brandon to the show. Brandon,
Hi, John.
how you
Hi,
doing,
Heather.
my friend? Good to see you.
I'm good. Thanks. Good to see you too. You are aware of my feelings on hijinks.
Well, now wait a minute. There are hijinks. I would say that there is madcap screwball fun. I would say that there is whimsy. What else?
Shenanigans.
Perhaps shenanigans. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I thought that I have to meet the in-laws and it's a bad situation and something's going wrong and I'm going to try and hide it and I'm not going to tell my fiance this thing that's important, even though I totally should. I thought all of that was whatever, but everything that they built around that was fantastic. I mean, I had a great time because I could feel the actors having a great time and because just each of the moments that we went through was done so well. Yeah. It was an absolute blast. I think the scene where Uhura, La'an, Una, and Erica all did their impressions of Spock. Oh yeah, I think I backed that up like 5 times. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting in this episode is I'm starting to notice, and maybe I'm very slow and everybody else has already noticed this, but Strange New Worlds seems to be doing with the Vulcans what Next Gen and DS9 did with the Klingons, which was show us that whatever they say about what they are, how they describe themselves, they're not really that as much, not to the extent that they think they are.
Yes.
They're not particularly dedicated to logic when it's inconvenient. I mean, T'Pril is flatly racist, which is completely illogical. She's spiteful. She's rude. Savette isn't emotionless.
Oh, he's a doormat. He's just
doormat.
And it's hilarious.
An adorable
because
doormat.
Yeah,
he really is. And I think even more adorable is that connection that Pike keeps trying to make with him. It's so sweet. Yeah. It's so kind. And it just shows that not every Vulcan is a pillar of logic and reason and manners. This poor guy, you could just feel him struggling through his life.
But also you can see him light up. You can see him get really excited. Oh, really? That's so I mean, no, I know.
Yeah, it's so good. By the way, you will be happy to know that in my notes, I use the word hijinks. I actually did, because I said that this is an episode where, yes, this is hijinks, and Star Trek can do hijinks like putting Spock in a gangster suit, or putting Kirk in a woman's body, or a woman's psyche in Kirk's body. But the difference here is that this is hijinks done with this level of heart. And I feel like it really pushes the characters in a way, and again, peels back those layers to reveal who they are. So you can have hijinks, and, Star Trek can do romantic farce, but many times in like the TNG DS9 era, I felt like, okay, romantic farce is just not working. I know there's only whatever it is, 8 storylines that exist in the world. So every story we get is a rehash of one of those. But if you're going to rehash one, you've got to give it your own spin, and you have to give it your own reason. And there's a lot of those that don't really hold up. And this one, I feel like we're going to tell an old story. We're going to retell it. So I definitely got romantic farce. That is front and center. And then there are two movie references that maybe people, maybe you two, you can tell me if I'm totally off base here, but maybe people in our audience, I will surprise them with. One was Batteries Not Included, because the idea of aliens trying to put things back together and doing it wrong, that I thought of that. But more seriously, the other one that I thought of was La Cage aux Folles, because I watched it not long ago, and the moment where Spock takes off the ears and reveals who he is in that moment, I thought of Albin in La Cage aux Folles, faced with bigotry and saying, no, you liked me when you thought I was someone else, but now I'm going to show you who I really am. And I thought it was a lovely, heartfelt moment that really spoke to the morals, meanings, messages of the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that I really liked that moment. And I really loved the journey that Chapel went on. I actually could have, I could have seen a little bit more of that and really enjoyed it. This whole sacrifice that she's making, or at least it seems like it's outlined as a sacrifice, right? Because wouldn't a human Spock be like pretty ideal for Chapel? But that's not him, and she's going to make the sacrifice for him. At the end, the fact that like actually ended up really panning out super well for her right away, I was like, oh, well, okay, we could have seen that be a little uncomfortable and sad for a little bit, but yeah, I'll take it.
I would have liked to have seen more of like what was happening with the aliens and how they were fixed to begin with, and then what the cure was. But that's not what the episode was about in my book. It was you only have so much time. So, and it's first contact, so I just hand wave it away. I'm like, we don't get to know because it's first contact. So okay.
My note about them is that they represent the worst customer service phone experience you can possibly get. Like that the writer's room had to be thinking in those terms.
Yes. Yes. The first line of my notes for this episode is, I think blue and yellow work in the call center at my bank.
Yes. See, that's perfect. Exactly. By the way, thank you everybody in the chat who got my La Cage references, because Emery Siegel referring to Song on the Vulcan Sand, la da 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 da, and then Julie, but can Ethan sing I Am What I Am? And I hope he can. I would bet money on it that he could. Yeah. Brandon, any other thoughts before we go to our next caller here?
No, that was what I had. I just want to say thanks again, you guys, and pass it on to Paul.
All right. Terrific. Have a good one, man. We'll see you next time. Be good. Bye. All right, Paul, one of our many Pauls. Paul, how you doing tonight?
John, I'm right in time for that advertisement. Is it Patreon time, or is it?
It is almost Patreon time. It is
Trek Wines time. I don't know. Pick one. We'll do a lead in.
We're giving the Trek Wines guy a little bit of a break, because in 2 weeks we're gonna have nothing but Trek wine.
So looking forward to that. I dealt with blue and yellow today, and let's keep our fingers crossed that the connection holds. The past 2 weeks I've been in the Earl Green room and froze completely with the internet. So this is a wing and a prayer here tonight. So 5 points. I'll put them out real quick in case I get cut off.
Okay.
When I'm still smiling. Second watch was better than the first. It was amazing.
Agreed.
Number 2. Here's the quote. You want me to fly the three of us to another dimension so you can talk to ancient aliens? One of my favorite shows. You gotta have ancient aliens. And then she comes back with it a little later with the Jurassic Park quote. Hold on to your butts.
Yes. Right? Yes.
Melissa Navia for the win. And now all I could think of watching the three of them in the alien space, let's call it, was some of our callers on After Dark, the Patreon After Dark, where we talk about the current episode. And I'm just thinking, is this what Jazz Gummies with Voyager is like?
I think so. I think that's 100% what it's like.
So we've got a few on the Discord or on the chat. Let's find out from a few of those unnamed entities whether or not this is what Voyager on Jazz Gummies is really like.
Exactly.
And I'm going to go back to your initial point, about how you can get tired of sort of the repeat. I will never get tired of Gia Sandhu in T'Pring makeup, ever. And her performance countering Chapel's performance and Ethan Peck having to deal with, playing ping pong between them. Oh my word, exceptional. Just an exceptional television show this week. I just enjoyed it. Just enjoyed it so much. So any or all of that, I'm interested. I think the makeup plays homage very well to the original T'Pring. It's just amazing to put them side by side and look at it.
And the costuming.
The costuming.
Stunning.
So amazing.
Stunning costumes. It's a really, again, a fine line doing this canon diving where you go find a footnote. Not that T'Pring is a footnote, but I mean, it was one episode and then never spoken of again, really, until now. It's a fine line when you can go back and pull the character and it not feel like you're just sort of telegraphing to the audience, hey, look, we watched this episode of Star Trek that you like. When you can actually take a character and give her some depth and give her, I feel like, some redemption as well. Because in Amok Time, I need to go back and rewatch it, but I feel like it's just this very two-dimensional kind of icy thing where she's manipulative and it's really just about Kirk and Spock fighting and Kirk and McCoy having their little trick to win in the end, They really, particularly in this episode, but even in the lead up to this episode, they really gave T'Pring, I think, a layer of sympathy that I have for his situation. And yeah, you can tell, like, okay, this is not going to work out with her and Spock, no matter what. But you can still see that there's a genuine connection. You can still see that she is a person that we care about, not just a plot catalyst from an episode 56 years ago. So I love it when they can do that and make it really count and make it drive the other characters too.
They showed that she also accepts Spock for who he is. And that's not something that we see
yeah.
time. So seeing that, it really does humanize their relationship and make it something special, as opposed to that really like two-dimensional, one-dimensional even what we saw.
Yeah, agreed. Paul, any other thoughts?
Just real quick, if you on your rewatch, make sure you watch the subtle but important eye gestures of both T'Pring and of Pike at various places. The eye acting and following, particularly T'Pring when she sees Chapel. What is she doing here again? You could just see that in her face.
Yes. And maybe not so subtle, but my favorite non-dialogue moment with Pike, other than the snap towards Savette to get him more appetizers. But it's the moment where Spock's having this showdown with T'Pring, and Pike is just walking toward the camera of the tray and immediately
turns away.
It's so
exactly
perfect,
my point.
Wonderful.
Exactly. We got the same scenes.
Directed very well.
Pleasure seeing you both as always. We'll see you 2 weeks in Vegas. And all I got to say about Vegas is you sell these ads. We're going to need a bigger room, baby.
There you go, man. All right. Take care, my friend. We'll see you soon.
See you later.
Bye-bye. Hey, and speaking of all of that, Heather, it is about that time. It is the bottom of the hour, the mid-show, where we get to give a little shout out, a little plug to our Patreon community, who also, most of you, I think almost all of you in Patreon have joined us on Discord as well. So the way you get in is patreon.com/missionlog. And Heather, my gosh, tell us what's going on there, because just Strange New Worlds alone, the conversation carries on over there in Discord.
It does. And you know that I love that we get to talk, the episode premieres when it comes out at like 3 a.m. my time here in Florida.
Right.
So I do not watch it. But I wake up and like that thread is already going. And
Yes, yes.
so we're talking about it in the Discord. And then on Wednesday nights at 9, I'm hosting the chat, which is really an extension of this conversation. Like if you're not in the mood to call in, then come join us on Wednesday nights. And that's been just really great because even more perspectives that we're sharing. What else? We've got Kon-Tiki on Tuesdays. We've got the Orville discussions on Wednesday before Strange New World, After Dark, of course, which everyone's been raving about. We've got Babylon 5 on Fridays. We've got an international chat now, which is unfortunately at 6 a.m. my time. And although my dog does get me up at 5, I'm not ready to do a chat. But I do want to try to do something to get to talk to all of our international patrons. But yeah, we talk about all sorts of stuff. It's great. And the whole reason I'm going to STLV is to see everyone in our Patreon Discord family. Like, I'm 100. There for you guys. Don't care if celebrities came or not. They're coming, which is great.
They are,
but
yes.
I'm coming for all of you. Well, that sounds weird. I'm coming to hug all of you. Positive thing. I'll leave the batleth at home, I promise.
Yes, 100%. I mean, that is such a great benefit. And there are, of course, exclusive Patreon things that happen. You will be in the know about them if you join our Patreon. And a lot of that development happens in Discord. So remember, your Patreon membership is your key to our Discord. And the chats there, the text chats happen all the time, but these live video chats happen throughout the week, hosted by not just us, but a number of people in the Mission Log community. And sometimes they just go on and on and on. We kick back, we chat. It's an open forum for many ideas. And importantly, it is a moderated place. So people who are maybe put off by the loud, cacophonous nonsense of other social media platforms might find that they have a much happier home in a place like our Discord.
Yes.
So if you want to join us, patreon.com/missionlog. That is your entry point. You get cool stuff there anyway. You get early access to shows. You get Norm's VAM every week on our early release of Mission Log. But then the real heart and soul of it, join us over at Discord, and we will see you there. Again, patreon.com/missionlog. All right. Let us go back to our callers. We have a Tim. I know there's more than one Tim in the audience tonight, but we have captured at least one of them in our caller stream. So, Tim, welcome to the show. And what is on your mind tonight?
Oh, thank you, John. Thank you, Heather. It's been a while. It's good to be back.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, likewise. I watch Star Trek with my wife. Her name is Lisa. And she is a very, very picky Star Trek viewer, but she loves Strange New Worlds. Loves it. Cannot wait to watch it every week. Mm-hmm. So earlier today, she said to me, "Are you going to call in tonight to Mission Log Live, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast?" And I said,
"Well done."
That's how we refer to it at the house.
Good.
And
good.
I said, "Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about." And she said, "Great, I've prepared a statement for you to read."
Love it.
And she handed me a document, a literal physical document.
Oh my God.
And so I thought I could use my time to share her thoughts on the episode and the show in general.
I absolutely insist. And you know what I'll do is I will email you a statement, which then you can print out and read to her in my voice. That would be an even better thing. But yeah,
fantastic.
Please go right ahead.
I've been working on the impression, so it's
good.
Terrific.
Good. I'll send you a jacket too. So.
Oh, good. Thank you. So here is my wife's statement. Again, her name is Lisa. She writes, as Tim's second wife, and I don't think that was a detail she needed to include, but that's fine. That's how we're starting, I guess. She says, "I have a sampling of bullet points regarding the current state of Star Trek from a 45-year-old woman's perspective. I grew up watching and loving TNG and read the TNG books religiously. Was never a fan of the original series, as I am much younger than Tim. Again, a detail I don't think
you didn't ask for that. Yeah.
No. She writes, Picard, the series, was an abomination, which I don't agree with at all. She says, I am so pleased it is over. It was like watching an Access Hollywood host interview Steven Seagal about his most recent arrest or pending lawsuit. She writes, Tim strong-armed me to watch Discovery, and I hated it on about the same level as Picard. Hate is the intended and appropriate word. I gave up, and Tim forged on alone. This brings me to Strange New Worlds. Tim asked me again to watch, and I took one for the team. I watched, I'm watching, and I can't get enough. This show brings all the feels, and I am once again in love with Star Trek. Pike's hair, Spock's chiseled contours, and outrageously ample, robust man bosom, combined with James Kirk's occasional appearances, never cease to entertain me. I hope this show goes on forever. I love Strange New Worlds. I don't know if you guys have any pull with Paramount, but please, if you do, keep this show going. Bonus points if we get some topless male nudity from Pike and Spock. Signed, Lisa. So, there you have it.
Tim, first of all, Lisa has a lot of fans in our chat right now. I mean, a lot. And I'm thinking the next time I need to take some time off from Mission Log, I think Lisa should absolutely step in for me, because this is the kind of energy we need.
Yeah. The show will either be a rating smash or be canceled within 1 week for some sort of content inappropriateness. But either way, it should be a fun ride.
I can tell you right now, I'm a fan of her perspective and her insights, and I hope we get more of that in the future. That's fabulous. Bravo. Thank you.
And Lisa thanks you. So that's it. That's all I have. I just wanted to share that. I appreciate the time, and I will let Alan come on next. Oh, Alan brought props too.
Okay. So. Oh, of course he did. Of course. Yeah. It's like Carrot Top. You can't keep him down. Can't keep down a prop comedian. Tim, thank you so much. Thank Lisa again sincerely from all of us, and we will see you soon, I hope.
Absolutely. Thank you both. Good night.
Live long and prosper. Bye. All right, now the question presents itself. Alan, why are you wearing that silly hat?
Well, I mean, this is the required part of the uniform, right? Right, fellow Vulcans? I mean, this is what we all wear, correct? It's standard issue part of the uniform.
It is. It's just, yeah. I loved his reaction. It's not silly, mother. Oh, wait.
And
you got to talk, Heather, so the mic activates.
Oh, yeah, no. Oh, my mic died again. Did it?
No, you're good. You're on.
Okay, alrighty, we're fine. All right, there he is. There we go.
That's what we want. By the way, you pulled a Dom. You did your Dom imitation by having the perfect action figure ready. And
it's amazing. It's great that this is clearly the go-to method for disguising or for the human to Vulcan disguise. It works equally well either way.
Yep. It absolutely does. I expect at some point we'll see him pull, the lining from a robe and tie it like a headband.
Oh,
and, yeah. So I very appreciate that you came on theme, Alan. But I'm curious, what are your thoughts about the show?
Another strong episode, and I want to echo a lot of the things that have been said thus far. Great stuff for Ethan as both a comedic actor, and there were some good dramatic moments too. The scenes that I responded to the most, I think, were the scenes of him in Chapel, where he's just kind of like earnestly getting along and trying to cope with the situation, but just kind of being there for her for her situation too. You know, the hallway hug moment. If let me just put this out there too for the planet Vulcan. If you want the GOAT of suppressed emotional responses, look no further than Amanda, Mother Spock and Grayson.
Yeah.
I think she claimed her throne this week.
Yes. Yes. And I feel, I don't know if we're supposed to feel sorry for her, but I mean, there was a big part of my heart that kind of broke for her, that she has put up with so much, presumably over so many years, and clearly must deeply love Sarek, which is a little odd because Sarek is awful to Spock in so many ways.
Yeah, it's a very, very weird sort of dynamic that, I mean, who knows? James Frayne is still around. We could maybe get a little revisiting on that front too of the whole dynamic. But yeah, just equally sort of a little bit sad, but also extremely glad and proud that Amanda got that kind of a moment to really shine, and for Mia Kirshner to play. In fact, I kind of feel that way for her, for Chapel, and for T'Pring as well. This was, I feel, an episode that really respected their side of their relationships with Spock. It wasn't just about him. It was about the way that his character related to each of them and vice versa.
Yes. Yeah. By the I need to share something here in the chat because Jane has hit on the head a note that I had, which is a nitpick. Please brush crumbs on the plate when clearing a table, not on the floor, please and thank you. Jane, I am there with you. Yes, 100%. I also want to throw this out there because I hope other people made the connection that I did in my head, that there's a big part of Vishal that seems like Festivus to me.
Yep.
Which is the airing of the grievances. Yeah?
I got a lot of things to say to you people this year.
That just seems like you just sit there and take it. That's just like baked into the whole ceremony. Yeah.
Yeah, because you want to improve, right? Like all of us good Vulcans.
It's only logical. See, there again, that's Vulcans just using logic as a cudgel. You know? Yeah, to get what they want. Also, little things that I learned in this show. First of all, I love how much Spock loves bacon. I absolutely related to that. That was a beautiful moment.
One of many times I thought of you in this episode. Also,
thank you.
All, like you said, all of the hors d'oeuvre stuff. And question: Ortegas's lunch or Uhura's lunch?
Oh, both. A little bit of both.
Yeah, a little bit. You got to assume that on the Enterprise you can pretty much get whatever you want. So both. Yeah.
Burger and sub. Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, that burger looked magnificent. It looked like, about twice the size of her hands. That looked real. That's something that I miss from Enterprise. Like, Enterprise was one of the first shows in the Star Trek canon that really, because they had Dorothy Duder, the late Dorothy Duder, Doug Drexler's former wife, who did the food styling and just did a knockout job on that. And I feel like it's only in modern Trek where we've gotten this focus again. And I'm so glad that it is a character trait of Pike, that cooking is his thing. Like we know about the horses. We already know about that, but you got to give him a thing that helps define his character. And yeah, Mark says in the chat here, I knew that John would go to the bacon and the food. Yes, you are correct, Mark. Yes.
Yeah. If there's a moral to this story, always use fresh herbs.
Oh yeah, that was a really nice moment. Absolutely.
Uh,
But those moments, this is a script that I really respect, because these moments that feel just like fun character business little bits, they all actually serve the characters. They all actually fit in really nicely. It didn't feel like there was nonsense just purely for padding. When I went back to write the recap, I just kept thinking like, oh, it's the romance farce. There's a mistake, and then you fix a mistake, and then you're done. And then I realized,
Yeah.
well, wait, no. So many of these moments reveal so much about what's going on. And even just the change in Spock's cadence, the change in the way that he says his dialogue really spoke to the emotional heart of what was happening. And we as the audience get to feel that kind of joy and exuberance while he's discovering it for himself. I thought he was magnificent in this.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just it totally feels like a completely different but reimagined version of that character. And it's like this is Spock without the Vulcanness, and and Spock as a bit of a hormonal teenager, because I mean Vulcans live much longer than humans. So what if a 30-year-old is the equivalent of like a 13-year-old?
Right. Let me throw this out to you both, because there was something about the mind meld that happened in here that I thought was really profound and really different from other mind melds in Star Trek. A lot of the most memorable mind melds are a character, whether it's Spock or Tuvok, whomever, going to get information, going to somebody's brain to pull out a piece of information. And this was one of the very rare mind melds where I thought that it was there for this like moment of connection to allow someone to walk a mile in someone else's shoes and to have a true moment of compatibility. And I thought that was one of the most touching things in here. First of all, because they played it so well, and that sort of understanding at the end when we're saying goodbye to Amanda, I thought that really drove home what it was all about. But the only other one really that came to mind was like Spock mind melding with the Horta in The Devil in the Dark, because it was really the only time that a mind meld was there, because now I need to feel empathy for another being. And after that, it kind of feels like the mind meld was just like a little bit of Deus Ex Machina. Like, we need to find a thing. We have no other way to get it. We're just going to suck it out of somebody's brain and then move on with the story. Right. Yeah. Exactly like that.
I hope that it was intentional, and I feel like it very well may have been, because something that Strange New Worlds has been doing, like just within the development of all of these women characters who were very one-dimensional. Sorry, my dog is distracting me.
All fair. All fair.
Adding like I'll just let that thought go, because that thought went, and maybe it'll come back sometime.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Absolutely fine. No trouble at all. Yeah. Go ahead, Ellen. I was going to ask you if you got one more thought, and we'll jump over to our last caller.
Well, I was going to say that kind of Picard Sarek fits in that criteria for me too, where it's about, okay, I'm going to let you into my mind so that you can share my stability and my clarity when you need it. And I'm meeting you on this level. It's not something that's being forced. It's not something that's being coerced. It's, empathy freely given to be used. And if I do have one final thought, since you guys were not here last week and missed the musical moment, I do have a little something prepared.
Oh, good.
This is quite a challenging one, so hopefully I don't screw it up.
Now, wait,
But,
important question. Did you write it or did Tim's wife, Lisa, write it? Because
no.
okay, because she's coming on board as a writer, but yes, go
Gotcha.
ahead.
No. Huh. I would never try to hurt you. I just needed someone to cure me, to fill the DNA that's gone, to fill this space of empty dreams. I'm only human, of flesh and blood I'm made.
Really? Yes.
Human, born to play charades.
Very, very well done.
Amazing.
Very well
Thank
done.
you.
Please
Thank
forgive
you.
me.
No, absolutely not. Well done, my friend. Nicely done. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we will see you soon. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Have a good one, and hopefully I will be available next week. We'll see how things go.
I hope so too.
Yeah,
all right.
have a
Take
good
care,
one.
friend. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
By the way, Alan getting shouts out from people in the audience. Carlos saying Human League, well done. Michelle, brilliant. Alan. And a moment before, David pointed out something very important to me, at least. The bacon Spock had in this episode looked thick cut, big time bacon, like the kind used on a bacon barbecue cheeseburger, not Denny's thin strip Grand Slam breakfast. You're right. That was a good looking bacon. Here in Alabama, we get Conecuh, which is a local place. And that's like, we make a special trip to go to the store that carries Conecuh bacon and only that. Oh, yeah. Maybe like I'll freeze some and bring it back to LA. We'll see. So
I also want to confirm, though I didn't see anybody bring it up in the chat, but Leonard Nimoy loved bacon.
See, there we go.
Recipes include bacon, bacon lover.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would be Leonard approved.
Mark is saying thick slice or no dice. And Anne-Marie very happy with the quoting David, big time bacon. And yes, I think it's going to be like a new call sign for us, big time bacon. Somebody get at big time bacon. That'll be us. All right, wrapping things up tonight to bring a little seriousness and some deeper thoughts to our show tonight, because we're just talking about bacon. It's Cherie. Go right ahead, Cherie, with the perfect backdrop. Yes.
I don't know that I can promise deeper thoughts, but
well, what is on your mind tonight?
I was thinking that the aliens in this episode reminded me of the Enterprise episode Dead Stop, where the space station fixes their ship and it communicates with them in a similar way. It's basically just a phone tree in space, and so are these aliens. And it just gives me flashbacks to all the times when I've had to communicate with the phone tree and I didn't want to.
It was so good. I loved the parameters of the setup. Is like, no, the time for complaints is you're outside that window and you're only a friend. So even still, like, more points against you.
It's just so many flashbacks from all the calls I've had to make in my life. Oh, so bad. But I will say this episode was hard for me, though, because I love T'Pring so much. I love the actress who plays her. I think she does an excellent performance. I think she's the most Vulcan on this show. Although her mother is like second best, because I think her mother did an amazing job at showing how you could be really mean Vulcan without like going outside the parameters of like showing emotions, but you're just like a trash person. Like, right. You're like, you're not exhibiting emotions. You're just terrible.
Yes. Masters of passive aggression.
Yeah. So I love her as a Vulcan, and I feel like it's already broken canon what a good character she is, because it's just not believable for her to like become like this woman who only cares about like stealing Spock's land. Right. But yeah, like I don't really necessarily mind that, because I'm not super attached to that canon. So I just love her character.
I feel like that's the kind of moment where you kind of keep in your head, and yeah, unless you're just really married to that one specific thing, to me, it's really just about the plot point. It just says, okay, in 5 to 8 years or whenever it happens in the future, based on this story, they will be reunited in this really uncomfortable thing where Kirk has to fake his death to save his buddy to get away from T'Pring. Like, I don't need to be too stuck on the character, because I think, again, the character is really redeemed here. So the plot point becomes less important, other than to just know, like, it happens. That's all right. And we move on from there.
And I think this episode, though, also did a really good job of, even though I love T'Pring and I'm super sad that for me, like, the saddest part is that this probably means we won't be seeing her as much. And that is super sad for me. But I think they did an amazing job showing why they're not a great couple, because it's never, like, directly addressed, but I interpreted it as the reason Spock didn't just tell T'Pring, even though I don't necessarily think he didn't believe her, or that, like, maybe he didn't feel 100% accepted by her, but, like, they did share a lot and everything. And I think he does love her, but I think he's always really uncomfortable about his Vulcan side. Like, he feels like he doesn't measure up to his Vulcan side. And he feels like he's not Vulcan enough. Like, he feels more comfortable around humans because, like, they look at him and they see a Vulcan. And he doesn't have to, like, have that fight with a human, but he has to have that fight with, like, every single Vulcan. And, like, even though, like, he does love her, like, I think it's probably impossible for him to ever, like, be 100% comfortable with her because of that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And honestly, that all falls right in line with what we know about Spock throughout his journey, is, like, always battling these halves of his personality. And just look at where he's getting this from all sides. Like, he's not always comfortable around the rest of the crew. Thank goodness he has that deep friendship with Kirk. Certainly not comfortable around his own family. And then you see back to his childhood when you go to an episode of, like, TAS Yesteryear, and then reinvented in 2009 Star Trek. Like, this is a guy who has been uncomfortable so much of his life. Of course, it's going to screw up his ability to have competent relationships too,
Right. It also makes me sad, though, because we know he doesn't end up with Chapel either. So it was like, oh, it's good because, that's the real relationship. Is like, oh, he doesn't end with either of them.
But he ends up with Kirk.
Spock. Yes,
he ends up with Kirk. There
Actually,
you go.
That reminds me, I was thinking when Tim was talking about his wife wanting them to be shirtless, I was like, well, this is based on the original series, and Kirk and Spock did get shirtless and oiled up a couple times at least. So
there you go.
I mean, it's canon.
There you go. Exactly.
Well, they could do it.
Yeah. And look, and I will say this, that, even if we know it's not necessarily a happy ending for Spock and Chapel, in the respect that they don't end up together, we both know that they are competent characters beyond this, even if the romantic relationship can't or doesn't last. But I think that the two stories here have a real parallel in this episode, and that is that they both walk away learning a lesson in not relying on outside validation to be who they are. And I thought that was really cool. She doesn't need it from the Vulcan Science Academy. He doesn't need it from T'Pril's awful family, So it's kind of cool to see them both get that strength. And then, of course, they have to, at least in that moment, find each other, because they've just been through this very similar thing and bared their souls.
I do want to throw in another shout out to T'Pring's father.
Oh my God!
It should have bothered me because it wasn't very Vulcan. Like, I didn't feel like he was very Vulcan, but I don't care because his performance was amazing and I loved it. And I also usually hate the trope of, like, the henpecked husband, but he did such an amazing job and I loved him so much.
I feel like he's yes, we haven't seen any Vulcan like that until now. Now we met the one who's like that. and it's perfect that he's married to T'Pris. And by the way, T'Pris, that is the name of the character that April Hebert, friend of our show and friend to many of us, played at Star Trek The Experience for a number of years. Not the same character, but they do share a name. They are separated by a couple hundred years of canon history, so very different. So just so everybody knows, because I think April posted something about that on her Facebook page. Listen, Cherie, fabulous to see you. We've got to wrap it up tonight and say goodbye to everybody, but it has been a pleasure, and I hope that we see you again soon.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
All right. Take care. You too.
Thanks. Bye.
Heather, we did it, and we get to do it again. I think I'm going to be on with you the next couple of weeks because Norman will be traveling. So it's our show. Right.
Sweet. Yeah. We'll fly the ship together.
We will fly the ship. And don't tell Norman if we mess anything up. Yeah, he won't be here to see it, right? All right. Well, with that, Mission Log Live is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment. Technical production on Mission Log and Mission Log Live is by the incandescent Earl Green. Be sure to visit podcast.roddenberry.com for the latest from Roddenberry Podcast. If you'd like to support Mission Log directly, give us a look at patreon.com/missionlog. Special thanks to my co-host, Heather Barker, for yet another fantastic Mission Log Live coverage of Strange New Worlds. Thank you to everyone who joined us live or later, and we look forward to seeing all of you next week.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.